Today is the day President Roosevelt declared would live on in infamy after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in Hawaii on December 7, 1941. Over the years, we've heard numerous stories of military survivors of the attack that Sunday morning. Tonight, we hear from two people who were also there that day as Native Hawaiian children.
We had breakfast, and then I went outside to play baseball with the neighborhood boys. And so as we were playing, we looked out and we saw all these planes going, and they were very low, and we saw smoke. And so, we couldn't figure out, and then we heard like, machine guns. And we couldn't figure out, but we kept looking up in the sky. And then all of a sudden, we just happened to look down in Pearl Harbor. Because from where we lived, if you look down, you can see all of Pearl Harbor. And it was just all black with smoke. And then my uncle called and told us to go in the house because the Japanese had bombed Pearl Harbor.
We had a country house in Ever Beach, which was actually right next to Barber's Point Naval Air Station, which is right next to Pearl Harbor. And that was our country home. We had just finished building it. We were right on the water. And we went to 8 o'clock Mass at the Catholic Church in Ever Beach, which is an area next to Pearl Harbor. And that church was just, at 8 o'clock, that church was shaking because they were bombing Pearl Harbor. And none of us knew what was going on. And my oldest sister drove us, so she said, I think we better go home. So we all got in the car and we drove, and getting back to the beach home, the closest house to us was about a mile, and lots of trees in that area. And we saw a parachute in the tree, and but we didn't know anything about it. When we got home, there were airplanes dogfighting right above us, and we just watched them crash in the ocean. And later on, the Navy police came and told us we had to leave because we were right next to the Naval Air Station. And so we left and we went up to my uncle's house, and he lived right above Pearl Harbor. He worked for the Air Plantation, and we couldn't get home, but that's the closest we could get, and so we stayed there for a couple of days. But you were actually right on Pearl Harbor. And there was a Japanese Zero that crashed right behind the house. And by the time we got there, the MPs had surrounded the plane, and they wouldn't let us near it.
The boys and I were looking up in the sky right on the road. I mean, they could have taken a shot at us, who knows, but I guess they weren't interested in, 4 kids playing out on the street. But we looked up, and it was so close that you can see the thing on the aircraft, the rising sun, like Charlie said. And it's amazing how nothing happened to any of us because they were flying so low.
Charlie and Ellie Fernandez recount that infamous day on the Hawaiian island of Oahu from their cozy home in Patterson, where they've lived for 20 years since Charlie followed an airline industry job to the Bay Area. Now retired, Charlie and Ellie are familiar faces at the Modesto Farmers Market, where for a dozen years they've sold their wonderful organic fruits and vegetables grown on their 2-acre farm. They say they will never forget the events of that day in December or what came after.
We never did go back to the country house. The Navy took over the country house and that property, and we never did see it again. The Navy took over the property and confiscated it. It was brand new. We had just finished it that weekend. And my father fought with the Navy, but he ended up, they gave him $75 for the house.
And the lot.
The property belonged to the Ever Campbell Estate. We were just leasing it. But the house was a big country house, brand new. And we ended up getting $75 from the Navy for that property.
We walked to school, we walked home with our gas masks, and so often in school, they had, a practice, air shelter. And just about every home built, an air raid shelter.
The attack on Pearl Harbor changed life on the islands. Fishing was restricted, and there were blackouts and rationing, and everybody started growing victory gardens.
You had that kind of feeling that, this wasn't your home anymore because someone came in and, gave you that feeling, no matter where you went, even when you went into the movie house.
Ellie says she didn't understand what really happened that day until many years later when she saw the movie Pearl Harbor.
When it happened, like Charlie said, we were too young to understand. But, when I went to see the movie and, they showed all the action and everything, I cried. I couldn't look at it, I had to turn. And only then did I really know, that all the, the sailors that were on the boats and everything, they didn't make it. And that was really sad.
Besides the war's influence on the islands, the Fernandez say Hawaii was still a wonderful place to grow up.